The events that occurred in the Parliament last year, in about October of last year, related to a very serious issue. Evidence had been given on two matters. One was that Cartier watches had been handed out to well-paid employees who are also entitled to performance bonuses under their normal remuneration arrangements. And on top of that, in a government-owned, taxpayer-owned company, Cartier watches were handed out on top of that. I didn't think that was appropriate. I still don't think it was appropriate. When that occurred, it was also stated that this was not taxpayers' money. I disagreed with that statement very strongly too. If it's a government company, it is taxpayers' money, and it should be treated with the same level of respect across government organisations as well. And so those are points that I remain very firmly committed to. At the time, what I did was I spoke to the shareholding ministers. That was in particular Minister Fletcher. Minister Fletcher spoke to the chairman of the company. The chairman of the company spoke to the chief executive. What we undertook to do was put a review into place into these matters that we considered to be very concerning. And the instruction was that the chief executive would stand aside while that was being done. What I stated in the Parliament was if the chief executive, and the indication had been that this might be the case, was not prepared to stand aside, and then that she might wish to leave the company. I reflected that in the Parliament. Now, it was a willing day in the Parliament. The language in the Parliament was very strong. It was not my intention to cause distress to Christine Holgate, and I regret any distress that strong language may have caused to her, and indeed did cause to her. That was not my intention. But what this issue is about, ultimately, all of us who serve in senior positions, whether it's as Prime Minister, a Minister, or a Chief Executive or Managing Director of a government-owned company, we all have responsibilities. What this issue was about the appropriate way that taxpayers' money and taxpayer companies are run. And so there were serious issues there, and Ms Holgate decided not to remain with Australia Post, and Australia Post is now moving to appoint a new Chief Executive, and any remaining issues sit between Christine Holgate and the Chair. No, I don't accept that. The position was that Ms Holgate, Christine Holgate, would be able to stand aside while that review took place. She chose not just to do that, she chose ultimately, while the review was underway, to resign from the company. That was a matter between her and the chairman. If she'd wished to stay in the organisation while that review was concluded, and that the board and her could work through any of the serious issues that were raised in that review. There were serious matters here, and serious issues that we didn't want to see repeated. And if she'd chosen to work through that process, then she could have chosen to do that. Instead, she chose to resign from the organisation. That's a matter between her and the Australia Post board. My language in the Parliament on the day that the Labor Party was saying that she should be resigned, I remind everybody, that was the context of those discussions in the Parliament, and what was said later. Parliament can get very willing, and on that occasion my language was very strong, and I do regret the distress that would have caused to Ms Holgate.